What kind of silly name is Chop Suey? And why did General Tso make fried chicken? And is Mongolian barbecue actually Mongolian? Today, we're diving into one of the most interesting culinary transformations in history: how Chinese food became American Chinese food. It's a story of arduous adaptation, but also very questionable authenticity. So hold on to your fortune cookies, because we're going to debunk those too. It all began in the 1800s. The first major influx of Chinese immigrants came to America in the hopes of striking it rich during the California gold rush. Problem was, most of these guys weren't chefs. Most were laborers and had to adapt their cooking to both American ingredients and American palates. Perhaps the first and most famous result of their experimentation was a dish that wasn't really very Chinese at all: Chop Suey, an assorted stir-fry of meats, eggs, and vegetables. Legend has it that this dish was created when a Chinese diplomat's chef had to whip up something late at night with leftover ingredients. But in reality, it's more likely that early Chinese immigrants created it as a way to make use of whatever vegetables and meat they had on hand. So where did the name Chop Suey come from? You see, most of these early immigrants were from the Cantonese-speaking province of Guangdong, and so a lot of early Chinese American dishes were derived from the Cantonese dialect's pronunciations. In this case, Chop Suey came from Zap Sui or Za Sui in Mandarin Chinese, which literally means miscellaneous fragments. In Chinese, there is actually a similar dish by the same name, but it's made up of miscellaneous fragments of animal entrails instead. The Cantonese continued to spearhead American Chinese cuisine with other classics like egg Foo Young and beef and broccoli. Egg Foo Young is a juicy fried omelet filled with vegetables and meats and slathered in sauce. In Cantonese, it's called Foo Young Dan, or Fu Rong Dan in Mandarin Chinese, which means hibiscus egg, named after the way the egg batter blooms like a flower when cooking. The original dish, though, was a much lighter fare and was served with no sauce at all. Beef and broccoli is based on the Cantonese staple by the same name, Gailan Chao Ao Yu, or Jielan Chao Niu Rou, literally Chinese broccoli stir-fried with beef. Chinese broccoli, or jielan, might look totally different to the broccoli you're used to, but they, along with kale, all actually come from the same family. Somewhere along the line, the Chinese broccoli was substituted with the usual Western broccoli, perhaps because of American tastes and the availability of the ingredient. Moving along, in the 1950s and 60s, more and more Chinese fled war-torn China for Taiwan, and many of them then moved to America, where they created enduring favorites like General Tso's chicken and orange chicken. Now, unlike Colonel Sanders, General Tso never actually fried up any chicken himself. The dish was named after him, but he was dead long before it was invented. In America, it's a sweet and spicy deep-fried chicken in a thick sauce with broccoli. In China, though, it actually doesn't exist. This dish was created in New York in the 1970s by chef Peng Zhanggui, who had left China for Taiwan before settling in America. There's no direct Chinese equivalent, but Peng was a native of China's Hunan province, where there were similar fried chicken dishes, as we'll see in our next classic, orange chicken. Orange chicken is a fried chicken dish with a sweet, tangy, and less spicy orange-flavored glaze, and was invented in the 1980s at the Taiwanese-American-owned restaurant chain Panda Express. Some say it's just a citrusy variation of General Tso's chicken, but it's actually not without some traditional roots too. In Hunan province, there's an old dish called Chen Pi Ji, literally citrus peel chicken, which is made with dried tangerine peels, isn't nearly as sweet, and much spicier. But speaking of Taiwan, remember everyone's freshly stir-fried favorite, Mongolian barbecue? Where you give your choice of raw ingredients to a bunch of dudes who cook it all up in a giant metal griddle, all traditional-like. Well, here's something that might blow your mind. It's got nothing to do with Mongolia or tradition at all. Zip, zilch, nada. The whole thing was started in Taiwan in the 1950s by a Chinese expat from the mainland called Wu Zhaonan, who set up a street food stall selling what he called Mongolian barbecue. And the resulting fad was brought over to America by other Taiwanese immigrants. Same goes for Mongolian beef, a Taiwanese invention that had nothing to do with Mongolians, but made a huge splash in America. Can't argue against its popularity though, the stuff is darn tasty. And finally, dessert. A geometric prism of a cracker with mostly silly, sometimes nonsensical, but occasionally ingenious notes inside. Well, guess what? While fortune cookies are kinda traditional, they aren't Chinese at all. They're actually based on a savory sesame miso-based Japanese rice cracker called tsujirura senbei. In Chinese, 实战煎饼, literally street fortune fried pancake, which would sometimes be available at temples with actual fortunes inside. The American variation was invented in the early 1900s by Makoto Hagiwara, who worked at the Japanese Tea Garden in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, and it quickly spread among Japanese restaurants. But how did it become a Chinese staple? Well, during the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, many were forced to give up their businesses, and most fortune cookie production ended up under Chinese ownership, forever changing its cultural perception. Turns out the truth of fortune cookies isn't so sweet after all, literally and figuratively. As our journey through history shows, the evolution of Chinese food in America tells us so much more than just a culinary story. It's a tale of immigration, adaptation, and cultural exchange. While these Americanized dishes might make traditional Chinese chefs raise an eyebrow, they represent something unique, a new cuisine born from the meeting of two cultures. So next time you order up that chop suey or crack open that fortune cookie, remember, you're actually tasting a piece of Asian American history. So if you enjoyed that bit of food for thought, let us know you'd like to hear more about Chinese culinary culture and share your favorite American Chinese food memories in the comments below. Until next time, bon appetit, or as they say in Chinese, 慢慢吃, eat slowly and savor.